Hello everyone, welcome to Sports Source, your number one source for sports. And today we're talking about day one of NHL free agency. It's past, and we're going to be talking about the winners and losers of the 2019 NHL free agency. You know, there's still some RFAs that haven't been signed yet, but most of the big signings have already been done, so there's no need to discuss them. So yeah, we're going to be talking about who won, who got the best players in this NHL free agency, and who are the losers, who, didn't do a good signing or lost players or that. And, it's summer now, so this is going to be the summer of Sports Source. I'm going to be uploading a video as much as possible, so if you guys have any video suggestions, then leave those down in the comment section below. But before we begin, smash that like button and subscribe for more NHL news and discussions. Without further ado, let's begin the video. So the first winner I have in this free agency is the New York Rangers. Now, obviously, when you get the best player in a free agency class that's on the board, you're obviously going to win. But the New York Rangers have just set themselves up so nicely because a couple of years ago, they were good, but they weren't good enough to make it anywhere far. They were kind of that weird middle team, and then they rebuilt the past year and a half, and they got the second overall pick this year with Kapu, who I really like. They have Kratsov, or however you say his name, who I really like. They got Subban. They got a really nice supporting cast there for the forwards. And, defense, they got Jacob Trouba, who's going to be their number one defenseman, pair alongside with Brady Shea. And they still got Henrik Lundqvist in net. So I think that this team could be a playoff team because Panarin, he's going to be a point-per-game player. Him and Kakko are going to play very good. Zibanejad, that's a really good offensive core. And they didn't really make any other signings, but when you get Artemi Panarin, the best player on the board, it's obviously a win for your franchise. The next winner I have is the Dallas Stars. Now, they made it to the second round of the playoffs this year, and, they have a really good team. They have Klingberg, Heiskanen on defense. They got Ben Bishop in the pipes, and then they also got Seguin, Ben, and Radulov for their forward group. But, they want to really strengthen this team, and, they want to be a cup contender. So, what do? They go on and get Joe Pavelski. Yes, they did lose Matt Zuccarello, but Joe Pavelski is an amazing player. Now, he is 34, and they did sign him for $7 million a year for 3 years, which is kind of concerning. But Joe Thornton, he could just bring life to that penalty kill. He could be a secondary scorer for your team, which is the main thing that the Dallas Stars need. He could play penalty kill, power play. He could be on your first, second line. He's just a very good player. He could be a leader in the locker room, which is something that they very much need. Now, the age is kind of concerning, but you're getting Joe Pavelski at the end of the day, and when you're a contending team, getting Joe Pavelski is very, very nice. And they also take Andrej Sekera, who is 33. They took it for a 1-year deal. And they took these two low-risk, medium reward, maybe high-reward players. Andrej Sekera, I think he could be a good defenseman for them. Good bottom-pairing defenseman. They got Corey Perry, who, he hasn't been doing great in the past couple years, but it's still Corey Perry. He's a great leader, and obviously you want him on your team because he's going to drop the mitts with anyone else. He's tough, and also, maybe he's going to be more motivated on the Dallas Stars because he's trying to earn a paycheck. When he was on the Anaheim Ducks getting like $8 million a season, he wasn't really as motivated, but now with Dallas, trying to earn himself, trying to get a cup with them, maybe he'll be more motivated. He could play on that third line for them, fourth line, second line. We'll have to see how he does, but I really like what the Dallas Stars did, and I think they're going to be all in for the cup next year. Now, the next team I have is the Florida Panthers. Now, they missed the playoffs last season, but they get Antoine Stralman for 3 years, $5.5 million, which is kind of a steep contract, but Antoine Stralman is a good player, so, it's not too big of a deal. He's going to be a good defenseman for them. They also got Brett Conley, which is an underrated pickup. He's a good sniper for them. He's a good third, second liner. That offense is looking really good. They missed on Panarin, but they got his good buddy, Sergei Bobrovsky, for 7 years for $10 million, and obviously you think, getting Bobrovsky is a big win, right? But in my opinion, it's not really that signing that makes them winners. It's the Brett Connolly. It's the Antoine Stralman. Obviously, getting Sergei Bobrovsky really, really helps your team, and they could be cup favorites this year. But I do not like this contract, and here's why. 7 years. He's already 3 years old. He's going to be 37 when that contract ends. Do you want a 37-year-old Sergei Bobrovsky making $10 million? That's a really, really big concern for signing him long term. And the thing is, they just drafted with their first round pick this year a goalie. So, when you draft a goalie who's going to be a really good goalie in 1 to 2 years, people are saying he can make the NHL jump, and you get an aging goalie for 7 years, how is that going to do Skinner's development? I feel like that they should have signed, a rental goalie, for 1 or 2 years. Maybe if they would have gone Robin Lehner for like 1 or 2 years, that would have been really good. I think that they need to develop their goalie that they drafted, Skinner, and just develop him, and he'll make the NHL jump soon. I'm not a really big fan of that signing, but I mean, it makes them cup contenders. They have Stralman, they have Connolly, they still have Barkov, Huberdeau, Hoffman, Ekblad, Yandel, all those guys. So we're going to have to see what they do in the upcoming season. Now, I couldn't think of a lot of winners in this free agency because I think that there's more losers in this free agency than winners. So, for winners, there's only a couple moves these teams did, but I think that they're really good moves. The first one I'm going to talk about the Blackhawks. Now, they didn't really make any moves, but combined with their already offensive group, their newly drafted Kirby Dach with the third overall pick. They already have Taves, Kane, Strome, DeBrincat. A great offensive team. They already have Keith at the back end. They have Bogfist for the future, Seabrook, all those guys. But they went out and got a goaltender, which, Corey Crawford's health has been kind of a concern. But they got out and they got Robin Lehner, who was an amazing goaltender for the Islanders last season. And, I see this as a win for the Blackhawks. They could honestly be a playoff team, maybe even make it very far, because this team, I really like Lehner. I really like this signing, and I really like the Chicago Blackhawks team. The other team I see as winners is the Devils. Now, obviously, they've already had an amazing offseason. They got PK Subban, which is a very good pickup. They got Jack Hughes, which is a very good pickup. Obviously, with that first overall pick to pair alongside Hischier and all those guys. But, they needed another forward on that team, and they got Palmieri. They already had him, so they're going to have Palmieri, Hall, Hischier, and Hughes. But they also got Wayne Simmonds to a $5 million contract, which I really like that signing because Simmonds, he can kind of protect those younger guys. He could score goals. He's a really good player. He had a really inconsistent year last year, but I still think they have potential to break out on this new look Devils team. And the last winner I have in this 2019 free agency class, it is the Nashville Predators. Now, obviously, at the time, I was kind of being a bit, I don't really know what the word is, but, I wasn't thinking of the PK Subban trade in the light that the Nashville Predators were seeing it as, because I was kind of saying that the Nashville Predators lost because they got PK Subban for barely any assets. But if you look back on it, they did, the reason they did it was basically to get cap, to sign Matt Duchene, which they ended up doing, and to get Yossi for an extension next year. And I see this as a really good signing for the Nashville Predators. Getting Matt Duchene, he was a really good guy. He could get 70 points for you. He's that first-line center that they've needed for a long time. Now, obviously, Ryan Johansson was supposed to be that when they traded away Seth Jones, and he has been serviceable, but I feel like that Matt Duchene will just be awesome in that Nashville Predators uniform. He's got a lot of wingers, talented wingers surrounded him, like Arvidsson, Forsberg, Tolvanen will be a beast soon, and they already got that defensive core, which is nasty. Nashville looks like a really, really good team, and this Matt Duchene signing was perfect for them. Now we're going to be moving on to the losers of this NHL free agency, and believe me, there's a lot of losers in this free agency, and the first one's the Columbus Blue Jackets. You've seen it coming. They obviously are losers because of a couple reasons. First of all, they lost Bobrovsky, their starting goalie, Panarin, their best forward or their best winger, and then Duchene, their best center. Those are three big blows to this team. This team, they made it farther than people expected. They made it to the second round. They swept the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I don't see them doing that next year if they have this team. They lost Panarin, Bobrovsky, Duchene, and obviously they knew they were going to do that, but now it's really official. They got Gustav Nyquist to try to heal the wound, and he's still a really good player. They got him for 4 years, $5.5 million. And they also re-signed Korpisalo, who I guess will be their starting goalie next year. They also got Elvis. I don't know how to say his last name, but they also got him. So their goaltending situation is all right. We're going to have to see how those young goalies play. Their defensive core, they obviously didn't lose anything, and they already have a really good defensive core with Jones and Werenski and Murray. And then their forward group, they already have Dubois as their center, so they don't really need that. But those are three big blows. And, I think that they're losers because they lost all those guys for nothing. Next up for the losers, it's the New York Islanders. Now, they lost on the Artemi Panarin sweepstakes, and they have to watch him go to the New York Rangers right across the bridge, which is very, very disappointing for them. They re-signed Anders Lee, their captain, which is very good, but it was to a 7-year, $7 million deal, which is a lot for Anders Lee, and they didn't really strengthen that forward group, which they needed to do because their forward group, was one of their weaker points. And then they lost Robin Lehner, their best goalie. he was an awesome goalie. I know I was a big fan of Robin Lehner when he was with Ottawa. I always knew he was going to break out. And, they they didn't get rid of him. He didn't want to re-sign. And instead, they got Semyon Varlamov, which isn't a bad replacement, but they got him for 4 years. I do not think that they should have gone him for 4 years, $5 million. I think I would have gone him for 1 or 2 years just to see how it goes, because I don't think that Semyon Varlamov is your solution to the goaltending problem for New York. So I just don't really like that signing for long term. The Anders Lee contract is a big overpay, and they lost out on Panarin and Robin Lehner, which really sucks for their franchise. I'm hoping that they do good next year, but at the same time, it's not looking too good for them after their breakout season this year. The next loser I have is the Edmonton Oilers. Now, they didn't really do anything special, so you're wondering, why are they losers? They cannot surround McDavid with any talent whatsoever, and it is very frustrating to watch. I can make a whole rant on why the Oilers have screwed up and how they're just screwing themselves with Connor McDavid. It's just ridiculous how many first overall picks they've had. I know I'm going on a rant. I don't really care. They've had so many high overall draft picks just gone to waste, and the only one to salvage is McDavid. You could say that Hall was good, but what'd they get out of him? Adam Larson, Nuge, he's pretty good, but for a first overall pick, not really. They needed to make a splash. They need to do something, and they have Puljarvi, who they drafted 4th overall. He had lots of promise, and they haven't done anything with him. He requested a trade. I wanted them to trade him for some assets, but they were looking for a third liner in return for this guy who was drafted 4th overall, which is just pathetic. They haven't done anything. They signed old Mike Smith, who you don't need. They signed Koskinen into a long deal. It's just ridiculous. They can't surround McDavid with any talent, and I'd be disappointed if I was an Oilers fan. Thank God I'm not an Oilers fan. So, they're big losers in this scenario. The next loser is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, they did trade Phil Kessel for Alex Galchenyuk, which I do not like that trade for Pittsburgh, because they're trading a 30-goal scoring guy for a guy that his peak is 30 goals a season next to Connor McDavid. I mean Sidney Crosby and Malkin. Galchenyuk, I'm not a big fan of him on the Penguins. I don't really like that sign. They did get a good defensive prospect in their weak prospect pool. But other than that, it's just not very good. I didn't like the Phil Kessel trade. And then they signed Brandon Tanev, which I'm a Jets fan. I was so sad to see Brandon Tanev go. I'm a really big fan of Brandon Tanev. And year after year, they keep losing these really good players who I like Armia, Brandon Tanev, Lemieux. These guys that, they do the little things right. But Pittsburgh, do you want to know how much they signed him for? 6 years. He's 27. A 6-year, $3.5 million contract for Brandon Tanev, which is absolutely ludicrous. Why you would sign him for 6 years? 6 years. Like, why would you do that? He's a third liner. You sign third depth forwards to 6 years, long term. I don't really think that's how the league works, Jim Rutherford. And also $3.5 million. Like, I like Tanev, but I'm glad the Jets didn't sign him for that contract. Oh my gosh. That's just ridiculous. So I do not like what the Pittsburgh Penguins done. They signed Jack Johnson to a big contract a little bit ago, and they won 2 back-to-back Stanley Cups, which is great. But they're kind of wasting Crosby's last years of his career because they're trying to get younger and salvage Crosby and Malkin for longer. But they should just be going in all in right now instead of trying to salvage this team for the future. So yeah, I do not really like what the Pittsburgh Penguins did in this offseason, but they still have time to make some moves, but I highly doubt they're going to improve. And the last loser I have is the Minnesota Wild. Now, they did do really good at the draft. They got Matthew Boldy, who I'm a really big fan of, and I thought they were going to be going in a young direction. They got Fiala for Granlund. They were going in a younger direction, which I really liked, and I think that it was time to kind of break down that team to get rid of Parise and Sutter and kind of move towards the Dumba era because he's a really good defenseman. I thought that they were going to do that, but nope. The Minnesota Wild just keep getting older and older. They get this young talent, and then they just mix it with this old players. They got Matt Zuccarello, who's 31, and Matt Zuccarello is a really good player, but why do the Minnesota Wild need him? He's old. How many points is he really going to get you? And why would you sign him if you're trying to, in my opinion, you guys should rebuild, retool this roster, get younger. But instead, you guys keep getting older and older. And the young talent is just being wasted because there's these old players in front of them that shouldn't even be on your roster. And first of all, Matt Zuccarello for $6 million for 5 years, that is not a good contract if you're the Minnesota Wild. I do not like that contract at all. The term is just terrible. I don't think that he's going to be worth that much money in that many years. And, they need to be getting younger. And every season, this is why I really don't like the Minnesota Wild. Because when they can go younger, they keep getting older and older and older. And when you're the Minnesota Wild and you're kind of a team in no man's land, it's not very good to be older and older every single year. Thank you for watching. Let me know who you think the biggest winners and losers of the NHL free agency are. Let me know that down in the comment section below. Obviously, like if you like the video, subscribe if you don't want to miss an upload, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.